going to try to do this fast because I'm about to start it without the upper timing cover on. So we'll see what happens. I'm sure oil will fly around. And here we go. Good, go. Check it out. It's cold. It's snowing. Naptown Tuner here, by the way. One of my most popular videos so far was about engine cold starts. The Audi manual, the engineers, the smart people of today are saying just to start your engine up and put it in drive or reverse or whatever and just go to work. Don't warm it up, don't idle it, just start it up and go. Now, they don't specify about temperatures. They don't say, unless it's this temperature, then idle it, do this kind of warm up. They just say to avoid engine damage, start your engine and just warm it up with light engine throttle and light load. Just drive away. Avoid heavy engine load, heavy engine throttle. So, a lot of people don't like that. A lot of people in the comments were saying, no way would I ever do that. I would always start my car up and let it warm up and then drive it. Well, think about it. What really, you're starting a really cold engine and it has, you know how thick that oil is. Yeah, you put the correct oil in it, but still, when it's this cold, that's why the cold starts are bad. Not only because the metal is so cold and then it has to go from shrinking to expanding, but the oil has to go through its process of warming up. It's like pushing thick syrup through all the orifices, and it doesn't give you a good film of lubrication until the oil gets to proper operating temperature. So it has to do with the metal and the oil. So this experiment is going to be, I just got back from a long road trip. My car has been running nonstop because I slept in it for over 24 hours. Yeah, I haven't turned it off. It's been running for over 24 hours. Now, I've been sitting here at my house, letting the car idle for about 10 minutes. It's at operating temperature. It's where it's supposed to be. What I have here is a temperature gun. It is extremely accurate. The temperature on the cluster here, I'll flip it around and show you. It shows that it's 22 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah, my fuel light's on. I haven't got fuel yet from getting home. I wanted to get home. So, of course, if I shoot it at the glass, it's not gonna show me 22 degrees, but let's see. Outside it's showing 22 degrees. So this is perfectly correct with that. The temperature is calibrated. Now let's go underneath the hood and see what we got going on. Now to me, this is pretty fascinating. First off, let's check out this oil filter. So the top of it, we're looking at about 190, and at the bottom of it, we're closer to 210. Okay, like for instance, let's take a look at our upper radiator hose. See, I'm shining it at my, see the dot? Upper radiator hose, about 180. Bottom radiator hose, bottom radiator hose is about 135. Throttle body, 84. Do that again. At about 182. 140. So the heater core is obviously doing its job. Hot coolant's going in. The heater core is expelling the heat into the cabin, and then the colder coolant's coming back. That's exactly the same principle as this radiator. Now let's take a look at our catalytic converter. First, we have a turbo blanket here. So the turbo blanket is going to bring the temperatures down 224. This is really interesting with the catalytic converter. It's all about, 240. But if you come up here around where the oxygen sensor is, we're in the 500 range. I'm shining right where the O2 sensor is. But if you come right past that cone and go a little bit further back, you dip right down into the 300s. And see my dot just goes from there to here. From there to here. So that's how restrictive that honeycomb is. That temperature just hangs out right there, and it makes me wonder if that makes the oxygen sensor more efficient with the catalytic converter or without. But because that's how it was designed. I don't know for sure, but if you really think about it, I mean, come on. But the biggest thing is, so let's just keep it simple on this video. We're just looking at warm-up time. So we'll just look at oil temperature. Oil temperature, we're going to be looking at, depending on where you shoot it, we're looking at anywhere between 190 and let's just say 195 on the top of the oil filter. This car is completely stock. I'm going to leave the hood shut. I'm going to start it up just like you would start it up in the morning on a cold start. I'm setting my timer right now. Completely cold engine. The temperature is still 22 degrees, but there might be slight deviation. This one says 23, but I'm doing this minutes apart, so it's within tolerance. Anyway, I'm not gonna time lapse the video and show you like with the temperature gun held there the whole time, because really that's pointless. That would take too long to upload. I'm just gonna give you the data points. You can trust me that I'm doing it correctly, right? What I will give you is the temperature of the top of the oil filter right now. And it's saying it's 11, 12 degrees. 12 degrees. How long will it take to go from 12 degrees all the way up to about 190, 195? Well, I started the timer. I'm gonna tell you. Hood's closed, doors shut. I'm even going to keep the heat off. But should I? No, I shouldn't, because that won't be accurate. I'm gonna turn the heat to defrost, because that's what most people would do. And we'll just keep it at 72 to keep it relatively equality. So we're at about 72 degrees at about 6 minutes in. Let's go ahead and check our coolant temperature. Top hose, 10 degrees. Bottom hose, 10 degrees. 14, 15. So our thermostat is still struggling to open. Let's take a look at our heater core lines. We got 80 and 40, 30. Wow. We're taking every little bit of heat out of those heater core lines. basically room temperature oil at this point. But the engine ain't room temperature. Alternator's 40 degrees, 30, 35. Alright, we'll check back in about 15 minutes. Here we are at the 15-minute mark. What's it gonna be? Did it switch to Celsius again? This stupid gun. This Ryobi gun keeps on switching to Celsius. Us Americans, we're too stubborn to use simple stuff like that. So we got, this is 15 and a half, pushing 16 minutes. We're at 120 degrees. Let's take a look at, see if the thermostat opened yet. Is that Celsius again? Fahrenheit, yeah. So we're at room temperature. Down there, we're at 25. So we got slight operation on, we should see a little bit of needle movement then. Yeah, we got a quarter on the needle movement. Thermostat's opening, that's what that means. But when we're all the way at operating temperature with coolant, we're still not sufficient with oil pressure. So oil pressure gets hotter faster than coolant, and then coolant starts to catch up, and then coolant gets to operating temperature where it needs to be, and then it takes longer for the oil to get where it needs to be. Does that make sense? Coolant comes up faster initially, then, well, not necessarily, because the coolant is being warmed in the block, but they're relatively close when it comes to bringing the temperature up. We'll just put it that way. But the actual regulated coolant thermostat of the engine on this side waits until the block gets up to operating temperature, which is about 220 degrees. So we'll come back in about 30 minutes and take a look at it. Here we are at the 25-minute mark, and as you can see, the oil looks like this, so it's still pretty sloppy. I mean, if it was a lot colder, then the oil would start getting more stiff. Without further ado, we got temperatures to check. First off, we're not even all the way where we should be at coolant. We're a little bit over quarter. What's the oil temp gonna be at 20, pushing 26 minutes? Okay, we're at 145. So most people would be happy with that. $110 and wow, 29. I'll check the heater core lines one more time. $80. $104. All right, we'll come back at like I don't know. Should we come back, or is this good enough? We'll at least get it to operating temperature and see what oil and operating temperature do. So we're at 27 minutes in. We're at We're at 140-ish still. Do we have full operating temperature with coolant? We do not have full operating temperature with coolant. We're still a little bit over a quarter, which is pretty crazy. What about our oil level? Or not level, what about our oil temperature? We're at 150 for oil temperature. Top hose, 131. This should be at least like 190 whenever it's at full operating temperature, remember? So, how long is it gonna take to get to full operating temperature? Let's keep waiting. We're a full 45 minutes in. Let's take a look at the coolant level. Still not to operating temperature, because we're not running it on the road, and this cabin takes a lot of heat. What's the oil level? Or I keep on saying level, because that's always the predicament, isn't it? We're still looking at 155, 150. We still got 136, 134. I guess I'll come back in another 10 minutes. We're pushing 1 hour. Come on. 55 minutes in, what's it gonna be? Coolant temperature. Still not good coolant temperature. Is that accurate? Do we have a bad thermostat? Some people will probably tell me I got a bad thermostat. When's the last time you've tried to warm your car up all the way to operating temperature? It idled. We got 160. 160 on the 160 and 140. So we got about 10 degrees hotter on our oil level, or it is what it is with this engine. I keep on getting mixed up. Temperature, oil temperature. It's always about oil level with this thing, but we're talking temperature this time. Now we're at 1 hour and 5 minutes. Still no good coolant temperature. I thought we had this oil up to 150 last time. We're only getting less than 140 right now for some reason. I can only get about 140. Our upper hose is 120. So I revved it a few times and even brought the coolant down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the coolant level off now. And now I'm going to see if the temperature will come up to operating temperature. So what we're at is, we'll just show you, we're at 1220, 1221. So how long is it going to take now that the heat is off to get to operating temperature? And I'll go ahead and hit the gun real quick too. 120, 122. With the cabin heat off, it literally only took about 2 minutes. I mean, like a minute and a half, and I'm already almost at operating temperature on the gauge. Let me show you. I mean, it said 1221. It's like a minute and a half now. 1223. So we're gonna wait. I'll go ahead and hit the trigger one more time to show you. 5 minutes after I turned the heat off, we are all the way at operating temperature on the cluster. Now let's take a look underneath the engine at our temperatures. We're at 140 now on the hose. We're still not open on our thermostat. All this is still very cold, but what we're really looking at is this oil temperature. And the oil temperature is now up to 160. Look, we're pushing an hour, 15 minutes now. This oil temperature needs to be at about 190. How efficient is it to warm up your car at idle, especially with the heat on? Tell me in the comments. This is a perfect example of me not wanting to pull out the camera and film, but I went ahead and did it anyway. I already swapped out this camshaft bridge, and I'm just throwing these bolts back in and tightening them down. I'm gonna see if the noise will go away with the camshaft bridge, this plunger here, I forget what that's called, someone tell me, actuator or whatever, and the magnetic solenoid. You don't have to have a stethoscope. I'm literally gonna put this screwdriver to the microphone of the camera, and you'll be able to hear what I'm talking about. This is injector noise.